computer. Okay, all right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is episode 9 of the SFC Record Club vlog. Okay, and today I'm welcoming two special guests. Let's see. Nimisha, hello. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me.
And I think in your case, you're just a few stops away from me, so not so far, right? But Daiki is coming in from
Hello.
6,000 miles away, right, in Ireland. So, good morning, Daiki.
Morning.
Hmm. So, thank you. Thank you for joining me today. Um, let's see. So, well, I know both of you guys are big music fans, and you're both very talented musicians. So, I thought we could just begin, right, talking about why do people listen to records today, right? It's so convenient to listen to streaming services, right? But I personally think there's value to listening to records. Um, and I know, Daiki, I remember you were collecting cassettes for a while in
Uh,
Japan, and some students I've talked to have started collecting CDs again. So it seems like all these outdated formats of listening to music are coming back, right? Among
mhm.
young people. So why? Why is that happening? And what's the benefit or the value of that?
Mm, like in my case, yeah, as you mentioned, cassette tapes means a lot to me. Yeah, I rather listen to cassette music with cassette tapes. I don't really collect records because, how can I say? Because that's portable. I can bring the cassette tapes like to wherever I want, like the parks, the school, yeah, on the train, everywhere. And like to me, cassette tapes have, I don't know, some personal values to me. So it's a lot different from listening to music on streaming service like Spotify because like when I choose the albums that I listen to, how can I say? Yeah, I have to choose them. That's the point.
Hmm.
So like when I leave my house, I have to choose, I have to pick. So it's kind of, how can I say? Yeah, I have to think about what I really want to listen to that day.
Hmm.
But when you have smartphone and streaming service, you don't really have to think about it. You can just, yeah, play whatever you want. So the fact that you have to think about it, you have to choose, that's really important to me.
Hmm. So why is that important?
Because when you don't have to choose, how can I say? Yeah, when you don't have to choose, you don't think about what you really want to listen to, right?
Hmm.
Then you kind of forget like what really matters to you
Hmm.
in music. That's my opinion. And like as I started listening to music with cassette tapes, my music taste really changed. I feel that. Yeah, sorry about the noise, but that's what I think. How about you, Nimisha?
Okay.
No, no, I agree with a lot of what you said. I think the very first record that I didn't really start listening to records or CDs until I got into college, until I was like 17, 18. I think the first record I ever received was like a birthday gift from the bassist in my band, and we're I think like me and Daiki were in the same club, also like the people in my band and everyone. And there was a big culture already of people, like everyone had a record player and everyone had like would go out and buy records, or even when we would hang out, we would like go and see record shops together. So it was just kind of part of the culture of that community, and that's how I got into it. Um, and yeah, definitely. I think like with subscription, you don't have to pay for every album, but as soon as it becomes like, oh, you have to like buy a piece of music, you become really intentional and, you know, as to like what piece of music you really want to buy and kind of invest in, I guess. And I find myself, and you rarely like listen to an album fully, like from top to bottom anymore, but with records, you really have the time to kind of put it on and listen to it throughout and be really intentional and really like consume the music in a way that,
Mm,
you
I
don't,
agree with that. It's
right?
so much easier to listen to the whole album when
Mhm.
you listen to like yeah with cassette tapes or records.
Definitely, yeah. And I
Yeah.
think like our generation with just like with media, the way we consume media, like it's kind of obvious, but everything is so fast paced and we're so used to having like different songs or different like media so quickly that, just like being
Yeah,
intentional and slow and taking out a record from like its jacket cover and then maybe seeing the liner notes and like putting it on and setting the needle. That whole process really slows down the experience and makes you really
true,
intentional.
true. You
Yeah.
know, when I'm listening to music like on Spotify,
Mhm.
I can't stop scrolling my phone. Like I check my line,
Mhm.
Twitter, Instagram while listening to music, and that really bothers me. But I can't stop it.
Yeah,
I would say I'm almost addicted to it. So
sure.
that's yeah.
Yeah,
That's why
definitely. And
you should collect records.
yeah, especially like I think in a way it makes you more open-minded to the music as well because I went to this record shop called Parallax Records in Kyoto the last time I was in Kyoto, like a month ago, and I got this like super experimental record of like this guy doing like voice experimentation. It was just super like a very avant-garde record. And usually if I had listened to that on like Spotify, I would have skipped and like not even listened to the next
Mm,
song as soon as I listened to it. But like because I bought the record first of all, and like, I went through all of the trouble of putting it's so hard to kind of take out that record and find another piece. It's just like, you kind of have to sit through it. You're like, whatever,
true.
let me just listen to it. And then the more you listen to it, it like really sunk in.
Mhm.
And yeah, I found myself like really, yeah, moved by that piece of music. And I feel like that wouldn't have happened with any other media. Yeah.
Hmm. So like that kind of intention and that kind of focus just completely changes your right? How you consume the music, right? Or how you appreciate the music, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So Daiki, how many cassettes do you have in your collection now?
I'm not really sure. I didn't bring them to Ireland, but I guess 20 to 30, I guess.
So how do you listen to music in Ireland?
I usually use Spotify
Hmm.
now.
Yeah, I
Mm.
use I often use Spotify too, right? I mean it's
Mm.
um I think it'd be hard to only listen to records, right? So hmm.
Yeah,
Kind of when I'm home or when I'm in transit, I listen to Spotify and I listen to records when I'm on campus.
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, like, I don't, I don't deny Spotify 100% at all.
Mhm. Yeah.
So Nimisha, how many records do you have?
I have maybe 50.
Okay, it's
Yeah,
pretty big
I think
collection.
I've collected a lot, especially after I started making music, you know, um, as a band. Like before, I realized like how little subscription models like pay artists
Mm.
like firsthand. And when we're thinking about, releasing our own music and stuff, it's like, damn, like for one play you get like 0.01 yen. Like, and you have like really big artists also who get like $3, $4 a month in royalties through like subscription based models only. And Spotify's there's been a lot of news and around those um models and how they keep so much money for themselves and artists rarely get paid. Um, so I think I've been more whenever I go to like a show and I really like their music, I buy a lot of their CDs or records. Um,
Cool.
yeah. And also like yeah, I usually only collect records, but I get a lot of CDs from like amateur bands or like bands or musicians our level as like demos. And I think just like giving someone a physical copy of their music is so nice. So yeah, because of that, I have a lot of CDs as well. Yeah.
Hmm. So do you guys, so like when I guess I started the record club for multiple reasons, but I mean like one of them was kind of because it was after COVID and I wanted to, create a space to hang out. But also I think even before COVID, I was thinking about how I enjoyed hanging out with my friends when I was younger, right? And kind of all of us had our own music collections, right? Our own CD collections. But then when we'd come together, like everyone would just bring music and we'd kind of hang out and, play music to each other and enjoy the music together, right? And I was thinking, I guess I felt kind of sad that I didn't do that anymore as I was growing older. I'm like, God, I really miss doing that, right? So I wanted to create a space where I could do that again, right? So I wanted to ask you, do you guys do that? I mean, in addition to like going to live events and DJ events, do you get together with your friends and just sit around and listen to music?
Yeah, like when I'm driving with my friends,
Hmm.
you can play your favorite music very loud, and that really matter to me. Is
Yeah,
that
that's a good point. Yeah, drive.
Yeah.
Listening in a
I was
car is a big part of it.
I
Hmm.
was gonna say the same thing, like especially as a band and like with my close friends, we go on a lot of like long road trips and
Hmm.
Mm,
a lot of like we listen to so many different types of music together. Um, and like we like to match it depending on like the time of day or like where we're driving through, and that's also really fun. And I think another fun part about like having like listening to music with subscription based things is like in our
mm,
club sometimes we used to do a thing called like DJ game, and we all like play different songs that kind of match, like go well together and like create a like good
mm.
flow. Um,
We do that like in a shared playlist,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Share
Spotify has, yeah.
and stuff. Uh, yeah, that's pretty fun. But I don't think I've ever really come together and just listened to records. Maybe a couple of times with like Keisuke or other like big record fans, but yeah.
Hmm.
Like when I visit some friends who has record collection
Mhm.
at their houses, we do that often. Like
That's true. Yeah.
Hmm.
we
Hmm.
do kind of listening part. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I have a couple of friends who have like very good sound systems in their houses. So
Mm,
with those people, we like often get together and listen to a lot of records. Yeah.
mm, mm.
Hmm. Okay. So let's see. So I remember you guys being among, some of the first students who visited the record club. When I had it in the original room, it was in 307, and then I moved it to 301, right? And we kind of had our own space. But originally it was just a table, right? And I had like 10 or 12 records. And Yeah, I remember you guys being among the first students who visited. And I don't know, like what did you think? I guess Daiki, when you saw when I was first starting to do that, did you think it was a good idea?
Yeah, totally. Like I'm remembering like probably it was my first time to how can I say start the record by myself.
Hmm.
Like I remember you told me how to do that, David. So I really appreciate that. Yeah, I started to be interested in records definitely because of you. Yeah.
Hmm. I kind of felt like I watched you become interested. So somebody brought a Kendrick Lamar record, right? And you,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I remember just what kind of watching you like look at it, and I could see that you were, it was material that you were familiar with, but the first time you saw it in record form, I
Sure.
guess. Yeah, so it was interesting to watch your reaction.
Yeah, yeah. Like you know, if it's only like old music, like Elvis Presley, Miles Davis, probably like how can I say? I will kind of feel bored or like unfamiliar.
Hmm.
But like because you had some of the records of current artists, I got interested easily. That's what I think.
Hmm. Let's see. Nimisha, do you have any any memories from that time?
Yeah, no, I think it was my first time as well. Like I think I might have been there
Really?
with Daiki on one of the days. Where you were like teaching us to put on a record. And it like I think I had been to like record shops before. And I had a few records, but I didn't own a record player. And I was secretly kind of scared to put on a record by myself, even though you can test it at the stores. So,
Mm,
like, what if I drop it or like scratch it? So
sure.
and it was kind of, I couldn't tell anyone that I've never really put on a record before. And I think what I really loved about the record club was, yeah, like Daiki said, you had really like a really good collection of music that we listened to, and it felt like a very safe and familiar space because usually I think record stores, maybe like Disc Union and places like that have a good vibe, but that feels very like commercial. And when you go to these very specific like listening events or maybe like individually owned record shops, there's like a very niche kind of selection, and sometimes it feels like you need to know enough about a music genre
Mm,
like records, or it feels like a hard step, like first step to take to get into records. Like, sometimes you feel like, oh, I don't know enough. Like, I don't know
Hmm.
enough about jazz to buy a jazz record, or, like this
sure.
is from this year and things like that. So it just felt like a totally open space, and you didn't have to like know so much about any kind of music. Like the first time I remember when I went with Daiki, like it was just us and two people I'd met for the first time, and we were playing like card games at the record club. Like
Yeah,
barely
yes, yes.
we put on like one record, and then we were just playing card games and talking, and you were totally fine with that as well. It didn't even have to be like a really intense conversation about music all the time. But there is obviously a space for you to do that, but it's also just open for
Hmm.
everyone to come together and hang out. So it had a very nice like living room kind of a vibe.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at the same time, I was looking for some spaces like where people speak English at campus. So yeah, that meant a lot to
Definitely.
me.
I think like there's barely any spaces that have like Giga English speaking students and ja like a good mix of like non-Giga students, because it's so easy for, English speaking students to get into like a circle of their own and not mix with anyone. But this is just
Mm,
a totally open space for anyone who just is even like moderately interested in music. It's super welcoming, and I really enjoyed that about that space. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for saying. Thank you for saying so. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to create a place where people can meet and like make, make bonds and friendships,
Mhm.
etc. Right? Um, hmm. What do you guys think about like how we're decorating the room, right? So every time we buy a record, we print out the artwork and laminate it and put it on the wall. So Daiki, you haven't seen it in a while, but I think
Yeah,
you'll
I'm
be,
looking forward to seeing
yeah,
it.
I think you'll be impressed when you see it. And really
Yeah.
that room is starting to look like a record store, which is what I really want to
Really?
happen. Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. What do you think of that concept that the walls kind of operate as giant play menus where you could browse what we have just by looking at the walls?
Um, it really helps. It really helps me. How can I say? Like, I feel safe in the in that club. I don't know how to say this, but like, sometimes I skip classes because like for nothing, for no reason, but I kind of feel guilty. But when I because I have record club, I still go to school, and I don't know how to say this, but that means a lot to me. Like I still have connection with with school. Like yeah, that really matters.
So we help you deal with the guilt of skipping class? Is that?
Yeah, yeah, like when I struggle keep going to school, yeah, that really helped me. So, the atmosphere, like the space itself, is really valuable to some students like me, I would say.
Yeah, and you were really good about bringing friends. I felt you brought kind of a steady stream of people, right? To
Thanks.
yeah. I mean, well, Nimisha, right? Kind of you recruited Nimisha in that way, I think.
Yeah,
Oh,
Because
really?
I
Did I?
didn't have you in class before. Hmm.
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Hmm.
Yeah. No, and definitely I think like I've only seen the artwork once. I haven't seen the recent version of it, but I think that really helps. It's made the vibe like even nicer, from like the kind of cold classrooms, the other ones. It really feels like everyone's kind of come together. And I also love how it's not just you selecting the records, like based on your own,
Hmm.
you're so open-minded to different genres. So it's like a mix of all the students that have been there. And then
Hmm.
when you see like a record that I didn't recommend, but I really love, and then you're like, oh, so there's somebody here who likes like Hiatus Coyote, or there's someone else who likes this like FK Twigs album, it's like you didn't, it's really cool to see like
Yeah,
what everyone
true.
likes as like a mural. Yeah. And that's also what makes records so special, like the album art being like a physical thing that you can hold and you can see. So it feels like an extension of that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I wish we could drink in the class club.
I know.
You know, in Ireland, students casually drink during the day at school. Like
Really?
there are two bars, two pubs on campus. And like we drink beer, listen to music. Like it's really fun. So, but I'm just saying.
We should do like an off-campus like drinks night
Very
with
chill.
like, a couple records, and that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Something to think about. Um, okay. Well, is there anything you'd like to say in closing to a message to future generations or something?
Mm.
Um, yeah, please feel free to come to the club. Like you don't have, how can I say, you don't have to be able to speak English. You don't have to have much knowledge about music. You can just talk with friends.
Mhm.
It's really fun. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. Same here, I guess. Like it might be a little scary to take that first step, but everyone is just, I think it's the most like welcoming and easygoing space on campus. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? Even if you're
Should
feeling,
keep the door open, David.
Hmm.
I think so, yeah, maybe.
Well,
But
I had it. I used to keep it open, but then like people down the hall complained about the noise, and
yeah,
so
Uh,
I've been keeping it closed. But I made a sign that says,
uh,
so
cool.
hopefully it's welcoming.
Yeah. And I hope it like encourages more people to buy more records and be more intentional about how you listen to music. Because it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
yeah. And like now like I'm an exchange student in Ireland, and like I realized that kind of, you know, society is really rare. We don't have that in other countries, I would say. Like I never heard. So you should really appreciate it.
No, totally. I went to India
Yeah.
looking for like a record store, and there was only one in like there's a city called Bangalore that's huge, and there's only one or two record shops. And Tokyo has like, if you go to, like Shibuya or anywhere, there's like two, three, four around like every corner. And there's so many independently run places. And it's,
And when you hit a record bar, you have to pay like 1,000 yen for a church. So you should really appreciate it. Like you can pick like whatever you want and listen to it in the record club. So
true,
that's a privilege, I would say.
definitely.
Okay, all right. Well, I think we can wrap up, right? So I'll stop the recording. We could chat a bit more, but I'll wrap it up. Okay, so I'll say thank you
Hey,
for joining us today. Okay, Daiki, thank you,
thank
and
you.
Nimisha, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. All right, bye bye.